But would you compose a theme for a summoner in Final Fantasy? Usually summoners are figures of reverence. They are connected to the divine. You expect choirs, harps, maybe a mystical flute. You expect music that feels ancient and powerful. But Eiko Carol is different. She's just 6 years old. She wears wings on her back, she's loud, and she's precocious, but she's also the last of her kind. Nobuo Uematsu didn't write her a mystical hymn, he wrote her a folk song. He had to score a character defined by the Japanese keyword Kodoku, which means solitude in English. A word that implies not just being alone, but being an orphan. Today, we will analyze how Uematsu used a trio of acoustic guitars to hide a deep, aching loneliness behind a cheerful smile. I'm Emiliano Giaquinta, and this is a deep dive in the Solitude of Eiko on Final Fantasy IX. To understand why the song portraying solitude is such a happy upbeat theme, we need to first look at the context. Eiko keyword is solitude, Kodoku in Japanese. The kanji literally means orphan and alone. This is the core of her character. She isn't a hermit by choice. She is the survivor of a tragedy. As you might remember, the summoner's tribe is decimated by Garland and the Invincible before the events of the game. Eiko lives in a ghost town. Her only family are the Muggles, so her theme cannot just be happy. It has to be the sound of someone keeping themselves company. At the same time, she's just 6 years old. The theme needs to feel vibrant and energetic to mask the silence of the ruins around her. So let's take a look at the project. The theme sits in G major, a warm and happy key, but if we listen to the very first chord, we will hear that it's not a G major. Actually, it's a D major, the dominant. So, from the very first second, the music is away from home. The guitars oscillate between D, D sus4, and D sus2. This is a resolution that doesn't come immediately. Musically, it's mirroring Eiko's situation. She's waiting, she's looking for a connection. We finally arrive to section A, and then we can observe that the main melody enters. It's important to know the instrumentation here. It's almost entirely acoustic guitars. There is no heavy brass, no synthesized strings. It's intimate. It feels like folk music, something you could play on a porch or on the fireside. Okay. The orchestration is just 3 guitars, right? So you have a rhythmic strummer on the left, which we can hear. We have 1 guitar playing arpeggios on the right. And then a high-pitched guitar on the center, driving the melody. All together again. So the melody is cheerful and diatonic. It outlines simple chords like G, minor, C, D minor, and so on. And it creates a bouncy feel. It represents the Eiko we meet, the energetic, bratty, and full of life kid. It's the mask she wears. Before moving into the section B, I would like to note that the instrumentation is quite different from other pieces, having just a few instruments, but specifically guitars. Programming guitars was not an easy feat on PlayStation 1 era, specifically the challenge of having an instrument with different durations of sustained notes. The whole arpeggiation, while sustaining the notes as we add new ones, was simply not possible, and the sound programmer, Akao, had a secret trick to make this happen. Each string of the guitar was programmed as a single instrument, making this possible. But the PlayStation 1 had a limit of instruments, so you can picture 3 guitars meant using 18 channels, as we have 6 strings. You can do the mathematics. Out of 24 channels that the PlayStation 1. So we only had 6 channels left for other instruments. I will likely do a full episode in this regards in the future, as Akao deserves quite some praise for the work he did. So coming back to the analysis, we can observe that the song form, it's actually mimicking a pop song, right? We have an intro, we have a section A, we have a section B, then a bridge, then the section A repeats, the section B repeats with small changes. We have another bridge, and then the section C, then it loops back to the beginning. Looking at the end of the section A, here we have a 2-5, a classic cadence, but resolves deceptively, right? So we have A minor, D, we will expect a G. But it resolves to a B minor, which is the minor third of in the key of G. So it would sound something like. Not only that, the B section comes with the add-on of the flute and the oboe. Let's hear it. If we listen to them in isolation, interesting, it's not just the change of the texture what we are hearing, but also the change of harmony, right? We have a B minor, E minor, A minor, and then a C minor. So most of the chords of this part are all minor. I think that if you pay attention, that C minor, the chord that ends the key, it's borrowed from a parallel minor. It introduced a sudden poignant sadness, a minor plagal ending. This is the crack in the mask. This is the moment where Eiko's energy fades and we see the Kodoku underneath. We hear the loneliness of a child who has no one to talk but her models. So to recover from this minor resolution, we have a bridge. We're happy again, right? It's using the 1/4 kind of major plagal sound, which, by the way, the Plagal Cadence is a chord progression moving from the subdominant to the tonic at the end of the phrase. For example, moving from a C major chord to a G major chord in the key of G major. It is often called the Amen Cadence because it's famously used to sing Amen at the end of the hymns. And then we land back on the section A. You will notice there's a small difference on this new section A, which is the percussion. We can hear them in isolation. This is a basic resource from popular music, right? If you're gonna have a repetition of a section, you should add something new. You could hear the example on Help from the Beatles, for example, that even if it sounds all the same, every new repetition, they add something like a tambourine or a little new instrument here and there. So you keep the listener engaged with what's going on, besides the lyrics, of course. And then we move again to the section B, which only has as a difference the incorporated percussions, which are a duet of bongos. Another bridge. I'm telling you, a pop song could be on the Billboard. When we finally land on section C, after so much happiness, I believe that section C is the final section, which is the most telling. The melody becomes more nostalgic than ever. One of the guitars plays tremolo, creating a repeating sound that adds a bit of tension. One of the guitars stops, and the other guitar plays. Beautiful. The chords are E minor 7 and A minor 7. They are heavily hinting the resolution to D major. If this would happen, we would be modulating to the dominant of the song, which is D. The key is G major, right? And this feels like a question being asked over and over again. Are you my family? Are you my home? The question is left hanging in the air. It's a brilliant way to musically represent Eiko's longing. We can hear the second part of C section. Interesting. As the texture changes again, the staccato-driven guitars and no woodwinds, we navigate back to G major using A7 and D7. It's a brief showcase of extended dominant chords, right? We have first A7 navigating to D7 and preparing us for G. It's important to say though that the theme at this point loops back to D in the game with no real ending, right? But I believe this section is very contrasting to the rest of the theme. Eiko's theme is a masterclass in subtlety. It used the cheerful sound of acoustic guitars to lower our guard, only to hit us with those moments of minor key longing. It captures the spirit of the little girl, who refuses to let the silence of her home defeat her. She fills the empty ruins with noise and music, waiting for the day she can finally leave. Eiko's theme is a demonstration that when you are composing for a character, you need to consider not just a single layer. Its characters are complex, and this is the case for her. You have the happy layer, but then you have also the subtlety of the sad melodic parts, combining her solitude with the happiness she has as a child. For the next episode, we will talk about Amaranth, which is the detached cool guy of the team. So stay tuned. See you next time.